Hello and welcome to SPF News. The headlines today are: pollution reaches record high levels, incomes are rising, growth leads to employment gains, and income inequality soaring. Pollution has reached a record high level in China. Let's go over to our reporter Georgia Crawford, reporting live from China right now.
Now imagine the air being so dirty you can smell and taste it. Well, that's the situation in Beijing, which is facing another smoggy day. Air quality was considered hazardous all weekend, and some environmentalists say it is the worst air on record.
Environmental concerns are examples of a negative externality of production and are detrimental to social welfare. This high pollution is associated with rapid economic growth. This is because there's an increase in polluting substances that harm the environment, which are caused from factors of production, such as factories. This is not sustainable, as it damages natural resources, thus harming the productive potential of the economy in the long term. Some of the pollution is caused by exhaust fumes. The recent economic growth has led to rising average incomes, which has enabled more households to buy cars. This has contributed to increased negative externalities, not least pollution from exhaust fumes. If this continues over time, damage to the environment may reduce long-term potential of the economy. This means that economic growth is not sustainable. Growth today will prevent growth for future generations.
Rising incomes that fall due to economic growth can also have a positive impact on the economy. This increase in income leads to an increase in consumption and an associated rise in employment as firms demand more factors of production, one of which is labour, to satisfy increased consumer demand, so a positive multiplier occurs. A combination of increased consumption, greater employment, and increased wage lead to greater government revenue. This could be used to increase public spending, for example on infrastructure, which could further increase productive potential. In other news, there is an increase in concern about income inequality associated with economic growth. Our reporter Bill at OECD headquarters is reporting the situation.
Rich and poor is at its widest in decades. The share of overall income going to the highest earners has grown sharply in much of the developed world. In the United States, the richest 1% has seen its share double to almost 1/5 of total income, while the share of the richest 0.1% has quadrupled to over 8%. But the incomes of the poorest households have not kept pace with overall income growth. Many are no better off than they were in the mid-1980s. Stripping out the richest 1% of the population leaves income growth rates considerably lower in many countries, which is why so many people have not felt their incomes rising in line with overall economic growth. The chief culprit behind rising income equality in OECD countries is a growing disparity in wages, even if income from capital also contributes to the wealth of top earners. Technological progress and global competition are good for growth and jobs, but tend to increase wage disparities. With a few dozen billionaires now possessing the same wealth as the poorest half of the world's population, world leaders have called income inequality today's biggest threat to global prosperity.
Overall incomes appears to be rising as a result of economic growth. The rate of growth may be different in different areas and industries. The majority of wealth generated goes towards the people who own the factors of production, leading to an increased wealth gap. Even though employment often rises, it is mainly low. Wage employment meaning that lower income householders don't benefit as much from economic growth.
This has been Billy
And Hannah.
for SPF News. Good night.